Good morning, everyone. It's now top of the hour, whichever ever hour that is for you. I understand we're ranging across several time zones. So, good morning or afternoon, evening to whoever is here. Um, it's my pleasure to host this meeting this morning. My name is Robert Jackson. I am a doctoral student, or I was at Johns Hopkins University, did my research in onboarding, and it's my pleasure to talk to you a little bit about Onboard 360 today, which came as the result of the research into international school onboarding. I would like to especially say a huge thank you to Search, whom we've partnered with. Search is a fantastic organization that really tries to pair up schools with the best candidate. And there's a lot of time and energy that goes into that. I was at a conference recently and we were talking about how much time really goes into getting the right candidates. You're going through all of the CVs. You're looking at references. You're discussing them with your staff, how to find the best candidate. um, On and on. You're interviewing one interview, two interview, three interviews, sometimes more, sometimes with different stakeholders. At the end of the day, it takes dozens of hours to find that good candidate, come to the right terms, get HR involved, get that contract, have that handshake agreement. And with that handshake agreement, then a lot of schools say, okay, good, we're wonderful, we're golden. Now we can move on and find the next candidate. But at that point, the onboarding really begins, and that's why we're working with Search Associates, because they do a phenomenal job getting to that point where there's a handshake, a partnership begins. And the research that I did actually came as a result of me working in international schools and seeing that so many people were not effectively joining schools. They would sign on and there would be some sort of disillusionment, unmet expectations as they would come into that school. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what is onboarding, why it's important, and how Onboard 360 came up with some research-based solutions that can help schools. So we've got some people that are still joining, which is wonderful. This is going to be a fairly informal meeting. If you have questions as we go through, feel free just to either put them in the chat or interrupt. We like to keep it light because I know that your time is very valuable, and I will try to keep this to a tight 30 minutes with some questions maybe at the end for the whole group. So, effective onboarding is aligning newcomers to your school vision, mission, goals, and expectations. So I think it's important to contextualize why we're even talking about this. And one of the important things that we need to think about as we're looking at this concept of onboarding is that people are leaving, and retention is going to continue to be a huge part of what we're dealing with in international schools. So, according to a recent study, about 40% of international teachers aged 30 to 49 report that they would not renew their next contract. That's a significant amount, and that is looking at international schools specifically. Beyond that, estimates from national systems. This is national systems where they go out, they find a teacher down the street, they hire them right away. From a national systems, put a $30,000 savings on retaining an employee for just 1 year. And that is a significantly decreased amount from what we would find typically in an international school, where you not only have to hire them, you have to fly them over, you have to get them housing and everything else. So keeping an employee for 1 year really does make a difference. Teachers without guidance often feel the 4Ds, and we're looking at these components because I think it helps us to understand the mindset of those teachers. They feel depressed, demoralized, demotivated, desperate to leave. And that's something that we definitely want to address as we're onboarding, because there's so many things, according to the research, we can do within between hiring and even the first several months of people being at the school that will help them to feel better about being there. Schools that provided a quality onboarding experiences to new hires, a new teacher saw a 93% retention rate. Big numbers based on the research. And proper induction and orientation to the school increases retention more than any other single factor. And that's according to the New Teacher Project, which we're citing a lot, but they did a great study along with Bailey Roskell, some of the others that are looking into what's happening in international schools. So if induction and orientation, onboarding is so important, What do we consider onboarding? And I think that many schools in the past have seen it like this. Well, onboarding, isn't it just collecting a bunch of documents from people? Isn't onboarding just a something that HR does because we have to get the copies of the passport, we need to get the signed contracts, we need to make sure we have all their medical clearance, all of the documentation and paperwork that goes along with getting someone to a new country. And whereas that's an important part of it, that is a small part of what onboarding actually is. And the research we have done shows that, and we've narrowed it down, I'll share this a little later, 5 major components to what onboarding is. And one of those, of course, is document collection, but it goes on from there, including things like stress management and mindfulness, as well as some school specific things and cross cultural learning. So, when we're thinking about it, though, so if onboarding is not document collection, what is it? And I'd like for us to have a little bit of a mind shift here now and think about onboarding as alignment. Our goal here is not just to collect those documents. And I will give you the dirty secret out there in hiring international teachers. Often we hear, well, we need to find someone that really believes in our vision and mission. People generally don't. And according to the research that we did, many teachers, as they're coming into a school, they don't initially understand or adhere to the vision and mission or perfectly can write it themselves from the very beginning. Meaning that what happens is they eventually align their expectations to that vision and mission. They join into the vision and mission of the school, the goals of the school, the expectations of the school, if those are presented very clearly to them and that expectation is there. So onboarding really is aligning people to that. And so it's more than, of course, document collection. So we're aligning the expectations, the values, and the goals of the individual, but also, and we need to remember, there was a study done 4 years ago in Asia looking at international teachers, and what it found was is that the millennials, the younger generation of teachers, did not feel like it was important. It did not feel like it was only important to be aligned to the school, but that school needed to be aligned to them as well. They're looking to join in, they're looking to contribute to the school. And so when we think about alignment, we also think this is a two-way street. We're hiring someone that will fundamentally change the school in a positive way. That's our goal. And the school needs to be open to that and to have those clear expectations for the teacher. So, stages of onboarding. And when we're thinking about, again, onboarding traditionally, we're talking 20, 30, 50 years ago, it was all about the orientation, right? And I'm sure we have people here that have been in schools before and they're thinking, okay, you fly the people in, you make sure they've got a place to stay, you have a basket of fruit there, maybe a bottle of wine, depending on the country, when they're moving in, maybe there's some food, stocked fridge there, they're off to the races, and then a few days later you have an orientation that's 3 5 days, sometimes longer, but you tell them everything they need to know then. And we all know, to be very honest, people don't remember all of that. There's a lot of great things that happen during orientation, but it is a time that is very rushed. It's a time when someone is also thinking about, I'm moving into a new place. How are my kids going to do here? I need a mop for my house. I don't have a mop yet. I have to figure that out. I still have to unpack everything. So orientation can be pretty rushed. It is important then, therefore, to think about onboarding as part of 3 stages. So the pre-boarding. I was at a conference recently, again, a different one, where we're talking about hiring. Of all the heads in the school there, I think all but 1 or 2 had said, we've already hired at least one person for August 2024. And this was in November. So thinking about that, we are already in the onboarding stage for these new people. And we're looking at it as this is the pre-boarding stage. The pre-boarding stage, so very important, because basically we have a bonus 8 to sometimes 10 months of working with these new staff members. And the common thing that everyone says at this time is people are busy. They don't want to hear from their new school. They want to just finish up their old school and figure everything out, and we'll get them the information when they need it. And while that is important to respect the boundaries that they have, the research clearly shows that people are hungry for information. And during using that pre-boarding time effectively, which we'll get into in a little bit about how we do that, is incredibly important. Because if you are not giving people timely, slow information that comes out about your school, they will get disillusioned. And I was at a conference, another conference recently, I think it was the NISA conference, and someone said they had 80% of their teachers actually showed up at the beginning of the year, and 20% did not even make it to the country. And they were surprised. Why is that? And I started asking some questions. Well, did you? Let's see. I think I've got someone that's not muted here. Let me mute them. Unless they had a question, and then please feel free to unmute. I said, well, how have you kept up with these people? What have you done? And they said, we really haven't done much of anything. We just got their information. We arranged plane tickets, and that was about it. And then people sometimes become disillusioned. Did I make the right decision? Is the school even still there? Are they the right school for me? So keeping that information going during the pre-boarding, having a strong orientation, and then post-boarding is absolutely essential. That is the counseling time that you have. So looking at that time between August and December, this is the time you should focus on in schools of listening to teachers, getting that feedback, and helping them as they're adjusting. So how do we get them there? And who's involved? I mean, this is the great question. When we think about all the different things we need to do, you can come up with a laundry list. So, of course, there's the document collection. Of course, you need to talk to them about the culture and their own cultural understanding and how they can grow. And this is one of those areas that to be an effective international school teacher, cross-cultural awareness and cross-cultural intelligence are two areas that can be developed in teachers. And that is something that is proven to move that needle and make them more effective. There's that. There are the school specific things. You've got your principals, and they're wanting to send them great things about, scheduling. Here's your resources. Here's your materials. IT's down there. IT is going to be sending them, here's your log information. Here's the information on how we use PowerSchool or other programs that we use in the school. And they're getting a lot of information. And then the question, of course, is, how are they getting all this information? And this, I think, was one of the more fascinating things we found as we were talking with teachers. So we found that teachers said, I am very confused because I am getting emails, sometimes WhatsApp or what's the one, I'm sorry, that they're using in China. I have it on my phone. I'm embarrassed to say this. I was just in China. WeChat, I put it on my phone when I was there, and I'm still getting messages. It's great. WhatsApp, WeChat, shared documents, attachments, websites, PDFs, paper copies, verbal instructions, hyperlinks, and phone calls. And teachers are saying, sometimes I don't remember where the info. I remember they said I needed to do something. Where is that information? And so there's all these different people communicating in very different ways with teachers, and they are feeling frustrated and confused. And to be honest, the sad part about this is the teachers felt like it was their fault for not being more organized, whereas the school is just saying all the different stakeholders are sending them information in different ways. So, and we have a chat here. WeChat, somebody help me out. Thank you, Mark. I did remember it. So yeah, it's a fun program. I'm glad I've got it on there. I'll share my WeChat later if you want to connect. So moving on. So this area of frustration is going to be something that is going to be something that you should consider. And Onboard 360 helps schools put these pieces together. So the process we have, and I'll explain this a little bit more at the end, is basically sitting down with all the stakeholders in the school. And this is a process, and we sent this out in the letter to everyone inviting them to this session. But the main challenge that schools have is not a will, it's not a skill, it's a time question. Schools don't have time to sit down with all the stakeholders and map out those pathways on how teachers are going to get the right information in the right way. And Onboard 360, that's one of the things we do. And that's why it's a good partnership with Search, because we're not just saying, here's a cookie cutter approach. Everything is tailored to the school itself. So, and we really like to focus, and I'm sure there's some HR people here, we really like to focus on this idea of automation. a recent McKinsey study did find that 30% of tasks are mundane and could be automated. So what we do is we work with schools and try to automate and create pathways for those schools on how they can just get information out to teachers and receive information back. It saves time and allows schools, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how this actually works with actually getting the time for relationships. Because HR, every time you're hiring somebody, they're sending out a new letter. They're sending out a new packet. They're sending out more information. The head of school is sending out something. The principals are starting to send out something. The IT is going to start sending out things. Everything is done on an individual basis. And it's important as we're looking at these automated pathways to really think about, what we can do with the click of a button. And this is what Onboard 360 has developed as a result of what schools have been telling us. And we're going to look at this in a second. But the whole idea here is to basically be able to say the mundane tasks are taken care of. You have time now to build relationships, to set those meetings, to make a connection instead of worrying about the paperwork, instead of just focusing on what is happening with the latest thread of email chains with 50 different people. So Onboard 360 helps you to develop tasks. And these are tasks that can be placed with an international teacher, a local hired teacher, substitute teacher, support staff, parent volunteers, and we help you to create individualized automated pathways so that you can drop somebody in the stream. And we're going to talk about what that stream looks like because it's important to not think about it as an individual, but as a cohort, which is what the research says is going to be most important. And they get all of the information along the way. And you're receiving back information in a timely manner as well. So we have these pathways that we work with the school to create, and then we say, who gets this information? And I would say, if you're not doing a specific onboard program for your substitute teachers in which they're looking at your data about child protection, they're not understanding a schedule, they're not understanding different components and processes around the school, then they're starting off on the wrong foot. But your international teachers, your local hires, and everyone else, we're developing pathways specifically for them so that all you have to do when you hire somebody is drop them in that pathway. And we're going to look at what that pathway looks like. And here's the 5 areas. So the 5 areas that the research said, this is what onboarding should look like for you. You have document collection. You're going to be focusing on cross-cultural components and cross-cultural intelligence. And we help you figure that out, what that's going to look like, getting your staff ready for that time where they're going to be at the school and in the country. HR is going to have things. They're going to want to talk about insurance and all these other things. And those become individualized tasks along that pathway that comes in a single platform, which I'll share. Stress management and mindfulness, again, so often forgotten how stressful it is moving to a new country. You've got your kids, sometimes you've got your pets, you're taking your whole life. Many people sell all their possessions or put them in storage, move overseas, they're living in a new place. Their kids are in a new school. They're working in a new school. They're in a new culture. They have a new work environment. Everything is fresh. How stressful that can be. And we work with you on creating stress management and mindfulness times to have with staff. And then there's the school specific. These are the things the principals will want to go over. That letter from the head of school, curriculum components, et cetera. This is how we see onboarding, the different components that need to be a part of an effective onboarding. And we're talking pre-boarding, orientation, and post-boarding. So what does that look like? Well, here's the dashboard. So how does all this play out in reality? So I scrunched it down. I put all the screens together. Typically, this is a longer scroll. But the teachers basically have their own personalized dashboard. And it has 3 different dashboards. And you can see at the top, it says pre-boarding, orientation, post-boarding, post-arrival. And that will help them as they're going through those 3 stages. Each one will have different information for them. And they'll be unlocked only when it's that time. So their orientation, they won't have it unlocked until it's closer to orientation time. And then, so there's announcements that your staff can put on, and these can be scheduled. So often I'll talk to principals or heads of school, and they're like, "Look, I'd like to have announcements go out, but I forget about it. I get busy." And I say, "We can," and they can be a video announcement. They can be a text announcement that pops in here. I just put Lionel Richie on here as an example, but it could be through pretty much anything um, to to send that announcement. Any video platform can be used. So we can schedule those out. So we could take a few minutes, and it's as simple as this: someone taking their phone, they're taking a video of themselves, and they're sending it to us, and we'll upload it for them, or they can upload it themselves. There's also an individual progress tracker, and this looks at with the teacher how they're doing and keeping up to date. And some of the best quotes we've heard from actual users say, I know what's expected of me, and I know what the school needs from me, and I feel caught up, which was an actual quote we heard from someone who gave us feedback that was using the platform. That is very rare. Usually international teachers are very stressed out, and they do feel like wow, yeah, I never have enough time. There is gamification at the top here. I'll show you a sample of that in a second. We do write our own articles just to help people out. And if anyone has ideas on what they would like, we feed into that as well. And the progress trackers are there. So the gamification, there's a leaderboard. People get points as they interact and they complete tasks and they upload documents and they give feedback to you as a school. They get points. And we saw amongst it was more than a third of the teachers once we introduced gamification, we saw a high level of engagement, even daily. They're going on the site, they're checking things out, and they're interacting with the tools that you put there for them. And again, some teachers don't really care about the games or the gamification. Others love it. So you're trying different ways to reach different people. So scrolling down further, we do have the pending tasks, the knowledge bank, and the bookmark tasks. So the tasks themselves, and I'll show you an example of a task in the next screen. These are designed. Well, let me just pop it open. So a task is something we create for you. So as Onboard 360 interviews all the stakeholders at your school, and I will say the first time we did the beta test on this and on paper, we thought, great, schools will go in and create their own tasks. You don't have time. And I understand that. And that's why we do it for you. Schools are welcome to make their own tasks. It's great. But we have our staff and our professionals that will work with you, hear from people, create all these tasks, send them to you and say, does this look accurate? This is what you're after. And sometimes it can be a link to, and in this case, this is an arrival checklist. And the teachers would go over here and click access resource. And then they say, yes, I have gone through this. And then it becomes something that they have completed and they get points for it. And it goes into a different box for them. If they like something, they can bookmark it. And the bookmark tasks would go down here. So they say, well, I don't have that birth certificate done yet, but I've bookmarked it so I can find it easily. And I would say this is the thing that we found most useful for staff as they were doing the onboarding process. No one was lost. They knew where everything was all of the time for them. And because it's a personalized website for them. They in this hub, they were very excited to be able to find their own information there, and they can go back and review what they've already submitted as well. So those tasks are there. So all of this is automated. Why is it automated? So that you have time for the important things. And Onboard 360, we will not work with a school unless they agree to have regular meetings with staff. The most impactful thing is to start having between 3 to 6 meetings in the spring with anyone you've hired. The best schools are starting in January. They're having monthly meetings, not with a whole staff, not with an individual, but with the whole staff. And they may put those at a couple of different times. But we work with you, we set those up with you and help you to understand what to do. We have templates that you can use for your presentations. We talk about icebreaker games, things like that. Schools may not need that, but there's others that appreciate it. And we help you set up those meetings because they are so very important for your staff. That is where they start coming together as a group during those meetings, talking about where they're from, what they're doing now, what they're going to be teaching, What are they nervous about? How can we help them as they're making that transition to a new school? Talking about the vision and mission of the school and how they see themselves as part of that. So very important. Also, we help schools set up, and we require this because it is so very important. Whether it's using Calendly, you can book me. Microsoft for Microsoft Office has one. I think it's called Appointments. Google has one where you basically set up a few hours a week there that individuals can make an appointment with you. And then we put your name in here. And if the teacher, instead of going back and forth with an email chain, they can just say, I'm going to book a 15-minute appointment just to get some questions out of the way with you. They can do that. And we say, make one for HR, make one with the principals, make one with the head of school so that they feel they have that connection. Our research into what's happened, actually looking at how this is used, it's not used a whole lot. There's maybe about 20% of the teachers that have it. However, the others have told us having that there made them feel like they had a connection to the school. There was a hotline in case they needed that, and that added that sense of peace and security. And also at the bottom, they have an individual roadmap. Yellow means they haven't done it yet, and green means they have. And this is a long roadmap that they have. So moving on. So that's what a teacher sees. And I want to start there because we need to put ourselves in the seat of the teacher. The teacher has everything in one place. They have connections. They can work with each other. They can see what needs to be done. And this information does not come out all at once. It comes out in a very slow drip method. So every 2 weeks, if we start in January, every 2, 3 weeks, they're getting a couple of things. And there are fun things on there about how to rent a car in the country or get a driver's license or what does a supermarket look like in the country. And we help with those videos that you may want to do or photos or whatever, as well as things that you need for them to know academically. This is what the resources we have, or this is what our curriculum is. To practical, we need these documents. And these are coming every few weeks. So the progress bar only goes up into what is required during that time. And so many of the times we'll see someone is at 100%, they're all caught up. And then the next week something else may drop for them to do. It's not bothering them. It is feeding their need. So then we see what a school has. We created a school dashboard that is designed for you, where you can look at not just onboarding 4 different teachers, but onboarding a cohort of teachers. And that is the philosophy that we have and that we help you to develop as a school. This is a built-in social group that meets each other's needs, and it feels like a family when they finally get together. These people they do grow together during the pre-boarding stage to the extent that they are exchanging just about all their information, and they're happy to actually meet face to face when they arrive. And that cohort then does stay together. And this isn't a secret. It's not something we invented. It's just part of organizational socialization. But it is very important to think not about individual teachers, but as the group. So uh, I'm just going to flash through a few of these things. You get to manage your employees. You assign mentors to them if you would like to do that. And there is the planning component of the dashboard. So the planning component is where we have resources for you for pre-boarding, orientation, and post-boarding. The communication tool is where you can schedule pop-up announcements. You can schedule other announcements that go out to them. You can schedule meetings for the whole group or for an individual. You can get that information out to them and receive that information back. The analysis is a time, honestly, where you're getting feedback from the teachers. And this is so important. Schools are data smart now. They want to see what is out there and they want to see what their people are saying. So that analysis component, when we click on that in the live screen, will give us a lot of data. And I'll show this in it. Even on your main screen here, it shows the most engaged and least engaged. And that's based on who is doing what. And finally, and of course, in the analysis, you can actually just get a quick look of what people are doing. And I think this really appeals to HR. They like to see the actual engagement, and they like to see who has uploaded the documents. The fun thing is this: if teachers or newcomers or volunteers are not getting the documents to you, and we see that Alan Assistant here is doing well. Olivia, office staff, or Susie, secretary, Thalia, teacher, they have not uploaded their passport copy. We have a button you can click on that, and it just sends a note out to those people who have not sent it, and just says, hey, just as a quick reminder, this is now due. So Carolyn, thanks for joining us. I do appreciate your time. So moving on, task documentation is on here, and this is just where we look at just the documents that are uploaded. Again, this is a huge hit with HR. They just want to see those documents. And then looking at the dashboard, we have the manage component where we're looking at our cohorts. We're planning out the different groups that are there. And this is where we manage the tasks. The feedback I just wanted to share briefly with you because I think this is so important. Teachers get points for giving feedback. So schools do get regular feedback from teachers. We can make this anonymous, but we have found generally that the teachers are fine giving the feedback and asking the questions through this. There is an anonymizing feature we add later with the post-boarding that is going to be important. But the feeling about the move, the onboarding and the school awareness is something that teachers or that staff at the school are getting in real time that are helping them make adjustments to their onboarding approach. So how do we do it? We consult with you. We create that school profile draft. We review with you, and we have final checks before the launch. We're doing all of this, and we're putting it all together for you because we know you don't have time. That's the long and short of it, is that we create this entire pathway for you. We run it by you. We get feedback, and we have our staff that work with you in order to make sure it's correct, and then we launch it. And we're in very, very close contact with you with monthly reports on what is happening with your cohort that is emailed to you. We give you a monthly PDF report. So that's it. I wanted to keep honest to my time. I said I'd try to keep it to about a half an hour. There's a lot that we have learned through the research. And this has not come as just looking at it from one approach, saying we're going to collect some documents or we're going to add a training in here. We have those components, but it's looking at it as a complete package. Because it is so important for us to look at teachers as holistic people that are nervous, that can improve, that want to learn about the school, and want to grow together as a cohort. So with that in mind, I just wanted to thank you all. Here's a QR code. I'd encourage you, if you're interested, please reach out. We'd love just to have a meeting with you, talk to you a little bit about how we can help your school, what you're doing now, because we continue to learn. And that's the fun thing about doing this with schools is we continue to add new features. For example, the mentor component was added as a school made that request. So I'm opening up for any questions you might have, and I'm happy to discuss anything about it. So please. Mark, if you're speaking, I can't hear you.
I just was musing the bottom line. I'm the secondary principal here. I'm sort of representing the leadership at my school in Changchun. What's the bottom line?
So good question. This is the introductory year. We're charging, depending on the size of the school, because usually that relates to how many staff and volunteers and substitutes. So if the school is a small size, it's 3,500 US. If it's a medium-sized school, it's 5,000. If it's a large-sized school, 6,500 US.
So where about 550? So where would that come in?
That would still be the small school size.
Right, okay.
And I will be honest, a lot of this is based on the server costs, but as well as we have people that will work for your school. It's like getting a second HR or another HR person that will make sure that all of this is getting done for you. So it is very staff intensive because we're not just giving you a platform and saying fill it out. We're doing that work, we're doing that heavy lifting, and we're not charging a setup fee. That is included in what we do.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anyone else? There may be a chat. Any questions I can answer for you? And this is really a passion project for us. we're out here learning about schools and meeting the needs. Is this platform from only or other modules? So good question. We actually do have another module, and it is Interview 360, in which it's a platform for interviewing candidates. But it really is just about putting the interview questions in there. And for anyone going on into Onboarding 360 or purchasing it before the end of this year, gets that Interview 360 for free. And this did come out of a request from a school saying they don't know how to keep. I think schools are using Google Docs. I know of one school that's using an email chain for all their interviews, and they're just saying, they have a separate email box where they keep all their interview notes and things like that. And this allows schools to have people directly apply for jobs. They upload their CV, or we can upload their CV. We can create interviews that are standardized, and then assign those interviews to different people in the team to give those interviews to, and then write the notes in there. Also, in a place to write additional notes, as well as if you're doing background checks, having that in there, and then that all that can be downloaded. So it works really well with search, because with search you have all that information as well. But this just is a place to catch your notes and to make sure everything is put in one place as you're downloading, and having that as part of their permanent file. But really, our goal is not to create an entire suite of services. This is our passion, is this idea of onboarding, and interviewing did come as a result of some requests for it. Well, with that, I will let people go. If there are people that want to stick around and ask questions, I am happy to answer those questions either here on the chat, or you can just speak up and ask the questions. It's fun seeing where everybody's from. I figure most of you are in Asia right now because it's a little later there. I doubt anyone's in London because it's 4:30 in the morning in London. But any other questions, I'll stick around for. And thank you all so much for coming. How do you classify the schools according to small, medium, large? Can you share the numbers of the staff? Yeah, I think it's 500 or 600 is a small, and then up to 1,000 would be a medium, and then above 1,000 would be a large. Abby Sterling is on the call. She can probably correct me. She's customer relations. She can probably correct me. I'm part of the research chain of this, so I don't do a lot. I don't do any of the sales or anything like that. But I am passionate about working. So the discount for the first year that's the price. This is a very research and heavy manpower intensive operation. And this is our introductory price for the first year. We do expect that starting in fall 2024, that the prices will go up. This is our introductory offer. And if you're interested, we can get you the Interview 360 as well for free. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate it. Hi, the small schools are classified having less than 350. All right. But for Mark, who I said he's a small, I'll stick to that. But for everybody else, 350 per year, depending on the school. Large schools are classified as over having 1,000. But Mark, I'll stick to that for you, because I did say that, even though I'm sure Abby Sterling will have some questions for me later. But we'll figure it out.
You're a brave man, Robert.
It's the holidays. I'm looking for a little forgiveness, and good and goodwill from people, just in case I make any mistakes.
You said something about sharing a WeChat link there, Robert.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna try to figure this out. Now, I think there's a way for me to put up my let's see. Is it under Discover? No, that's Scan. Hold on. Me. How do I? Okay, hold on. Here's my QR code, I think. My QR code. Here we go. Here we go. What? Wait. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah, well,
Is
if you
that going
put
to
it
work?
to the screen, just put it to the screen. And
Hold on. I have to
hang
unblur
on.
my background, I think.
Yeah, I'll let you
Not-
know. I've got my phone going on it. Yep, got you.
Awesome. Wow. Technology. This is great. All right. Anyone else need that? There's my WeChat. All right. Well, thank you. Uh, and Abby's smiling and saying she's gonna ask me to stick to the numbers. So I'll defer those questions next time to her. But yeah, we're happy to work with everybody. Um, let's see. And school account. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. So we've got some other people here. A few folks are sticking around. Any other questions?
Okay, Robert, thank you. I got to run, but it's been a pleasure.
I look forward to meeting you on WeChat.
Okay, bye-bye.
Ciao. We've got Gregory here and Joanna still here. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. And Kathy. All right. Well, I will encourage you all just to reach out. We have the QR code here on the screen. And that will help you to set up an appointment with Abby Sterling, who can walk you through the platform. And you can go directly in there, and there's a place you can set up an appointment directly with her. And it'll all be done. So thank you all for coming, and good luck with your hiring. It is so important, all that you're doing, and however we can support you, we will. Have a wonderful day.